Hey babes, my name's Hannah.
And my name is Chasity.
Welcome back to Bookish Babes. Today we're going to be walking you guys through our July reading wrap up.
So July was kind of a
weird month.
A weird month for us. It's summer has taken some crazy turns. We've been very, very busy. So sorry, we know we're getting this up a little bit late, but you know, it's here. So
August is almost over and we're just not doing our July.
I mean, it's here though.
Yes.
So we do apologize about the delay, but it's here. So the first one that I read in July was People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. Okay, so I really, really loved this book. I gave it 5 stars. Emily Henry is like the queen of rom-coms.
For sure.
I am not like a huge rom-com person. At least I don't think I was. I typically didn't go for the rom-coms, but like I love Emily Henry's writing style. She writes very like quick, witty stuff, and her characters are very like memorable. Like they leave a mark on you. This was a story about 2 best friends who kind of have a second chance.
Love that.
Yeah, I knew you would. One of them pretty much has like all of her goals and dreams like accomplished. She pretty much, she's like a travel writer. So she like ends up like working for a really good company and like she's doing everything she loves, but it just doesn't feel like enough, and she kind of realizes it's because like she's not sharing it with her best friend. Like they kind of had a falling out, and so this is kind of the story about how they get back together, like, and come back together, and it was a wonderful story, and I really, really love her writing, and I just really, really loved it.
Oh.
So I'd highly recommend that one.
Yeah, I've heard really good things about that one.
Yeah, both of them. That one and Beach Read. I really loved them.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I might have to pick them up. The first one that I read was Firefly Lane by Kristin Hannah. So this one is actually a reread for me. This was the first book by her that I ever read, and I think I read it back in middle school when I was like way too young to be reading it. And I remember really liking it, and I really liked it again. The reason I reread it is because I wanted to watch the Netflix series.
Right, okay.
And so I wanted to reread the book to see if it was similar at all, because to be honest, I didn't remember much. I didn't remember how heartbreaking this book was. Did you ever read this one?
No, it's on my list. I actually have it over there.
It's, so then I won't go into detail or anything, but it's about 2 like childhood best friends, and then it follows them all the way through their life into adulthood, and it kind of shows you the different paths that they go on. And it's interesting to see them as children and see how different they are as children, and how that like leads into their adult life and the different decisions that they make. And it's also very real. You know, there's resentment on one side, and I think that's a normal human emotion, so I like that she wrote about that. And there's just a lot of things in here that are just really relatable, and I enjoyed it. I didn't think I was going to enjoy it as much as I did the second time, but I did.
I'm glad.
Yeah.
Yeah,
really
that's
good.
one that I definitely have high up on my list.
Yeah.
I'll get there. One of these days, I'll get there.
I know. The fact that I'm rereading a book when I have so many on my list is kind of funny to me, but...
Same, I'm re-listening to a book.
Yeah.
And
I also think I'm going to reread Harry Potter this month.
We have problems.
I know. I just rewatched like the 3rd Harry Potter movie, and I'm like, I should do a reread.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
You know, why not? The next one that I read was One Perfect Lie by Lisa Scottoline. I gave this one 3 stars. When I originally started this book, I really thought it was going in a different direction, because the story opens up with a man like applying to be a teacher at this school, and it very clearly, like very quickly tells you that he's not actually a teacher, and that he's in some type of disguise, like, and there's obviously another agenda here, but it sets it up differently. Like I really thought he was gonna be like, I thought he was gonna like blow up the school or like be a bomber or some kind of like, it was very strange. I thought that was the way it was going, but that's not how it turned out. He ended up being like an undercover FBI agent type thing.
Oh.
So it took a totally different turn. I wasn't expecting it. It was good. It was a good story. It was well written. I did, however, find it a little underwhelming because I really just didn't connect and really wasn't invested in any of the characters.
Also thought he was gonna bomb the school.
Yeah, so like I mean, there was somebody who was gonna use a bomb somewhere. So I mean, there is that.
Okay.
So like I wasn't.
A bombing did happen.
A bombing did happen. Like I wasn't too far off, but yeah, I just didn't really connect with any of the characters. Like I wasn't super invested, but it was a good read and it was well written. So I gave it 3 stars.
The second book that I read is one that I started months ago and then finally finished, and I'm so glad that I did. It's A Promised Land by Barack Obama. I got this for Christmas, I think last year, from my aunt. And like I said, I pretty much started it right away, and then I found it in my trunk like a month ago. And I was like, I never finished that. And I had like the page dog-eared that I like, or I had like the bookmark in there, the page that I left off on. So I finished it, and it was so interesting to listen to, or I guess like to read his recap of his presidency and all the important moments throughout it, like including when Osama bin Laden was killed. And also I remember in the beginning of the book, he kind of talked about his early days in politics.
I listened to the audiobook, but I only got about halfway through it before my thing expired. So I need to finish it.
It was interesting to kind of hear because you read articles about him, and it's interesting to hear his side of it and what was going through his mind and his experience in the White House. And I'm really glad that I read it.
Yeah, it was
I don't typically do a lot of nonfiction, but I did 2 nonfiction this month, and that one was really good.
Yeah. I'm trying to get into more nonfiction.
Me too. I made an effort this month.
That's good.
Yeah.
Good. And that's a big book.
I feel like they take me longer to get through. That's why I read less when I read nonfiction.
They do. I mean, they do. I think I do well when I have an audiobook.
Yeah, I just don't have time to listen to audiobooks, I find. There's never like an amount of time where I'm just like, I just have time to listen to something. You know, I'm either driving to work, I'm working, I'm at home, I'm doing school stuff, so it's like,
yeah, it's hard.
Yeah.
The next one I read was Local Woman Missing by Mary Kubica? Sure. Probably butchered that, but I tried, guys. I really, really loved this one. I gave this one 5 stars. This one had me like instantly. And the way it all tied in together, it was just, it was so twisty. And this was the first one I've ever read by her. I've seen
heard a lot about her.
A lot of her books, and they've always come like highly recommended. But this one's the first one I read by her. I actually got an advanced reader copy from NetGalley, so thank you, NetGalley. And it was so good. I just absolutely loved it.
Was it like a mystery?
It's very suspenseful, yeah. Okay. It's definitely, I think I would classify it as a psychological thriller.
Yeah.
But it's very crime too, like crime drama. But I don't want to say too much about it because I don't even know how to describe it without like being like, okay, well. But there's definitely, obviously, a local woman missing.
As you can tell by the title.
You know, there's actually a few of them missing. So yeah. It was good though. I highly recommend it.
So the very last one that I read is one of my favorites that I've ever read, and it's Voices from Chernobyl. I watched the HBO series on Chernobyl a couple months ago, and ever since then I've been kind of like weirdly obsessed with it, and I've wanted to kind of learn more about it. And this one was really interesting because it's just a collection of a bunch of different people. It's not necessarily like what happened or anything like that. It's all like quotes from people who like lived through it and their experiences. I remember reading about this one guy who was one of the firefighters who responded, and he was wearing a hat. And of course, like, this was the Soviet Union, so they weren't really aware of what radiation was because the government didn't have to tell them that kind of information then. And so he let his son wear this hat with all this radiation on it, and a few years later he had a brain tumor from it. Like, this child, like these horrifying experiences. And if you watch the HBO series, the wife from the HBO series, the pregnant one, did a whole snippet in here about how, you know, the only reason she's still healthy is because she was pregnant and her baby absorbed all the radiation. Her baby only lived a few hours after it was born. And so it's people who live through it and their experiences afterwards, and watching their family members become sick and die, and kind of recapping what the government was like at the time. And it was hard to read, but it's something I'm really glad that it actually won a Nobel Peace Prize, and I can see why. It's important to read if you're not super familiar with what happened, because this really like opens your eyes to it.
I need to read that.
Yeah, I'll leave it here for you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So the next one that I read was Dream Girl by Laura Lippman. I gave this one 3 stars. So I'm like a huge Laura Lippman fan. I typically really enjoy her stories. This one, I think I know what she was doing with it, but I had trouble connecting with it. The main character, and I'm pretty sure she wrote this man to be like this, but being in his head was just god-awful. I just hated...
He was just vile.
He was just vile. He was very presumptuous. Ugh, chaotic, male toxicity. Ugh, I just hated him so much. And I'm pretty sure he had some kind of like dementia, Alzheimer's happening.
Was he older?
Yeah.
Okay.
And he needed a nurse. So he had a nurse and he had an assistant. And the whole twist was like, this stuff keeps happening, like these phone calls are happening, and you're led to believe that he's kind of losing it, obviously. But it turns out that he's really not. It's actually the nurse and the assistant that are kind of messing with him, and there's a much deeper reasoning for that. And then
that's kind of weird.
Yeah, they end up being from his past, and he doesn't really remember them. I understand what she was trying to do with it, but I still left the story very confused. Very confused.
Like, more like, why did she do that? Like,
yeah.
Okay.
More like, I kind of understand why she was... No, I don't know. I don't know, really. I'm a little lost on this one.
It's okay.
I think there was a little too much going on.
Okay.
You know, I feel like at the end, if it was just, like I said, the assistant and the nurse, and that storyline, I feel like that it would have been stronger of an ending if we had just stuck with that. But there was like some other added in things at the end that kind of just derailed it for me a little bit.
Okay, like she almost did too much.
Yeah, like there was a little bit too much, a little overkill on the ending.
Okay.
Which is kind of how I felt with like the maidens. So, I mean, yeah, I was a little disappointed by this one, but
they can't all be winners.
Can't all be winners, yeah. The very last one, however, I really, really loved. Neon Gods by Katie Roberts. Fucking loved this book. And I'm very picky on my retellings. I'm just very, very picky on my retellings. And usually when they're hyped up like this, I'm usually scared to go into them. However, Hades and Persephone, this is a retelling. It's a spicy retelling, and I fucking loved it. Fucking loved it. It's very much like Mount Olympus is like almost like New York, like socialite meets royalty.
Interesting.
It was so cool. Like, also, it's not just like the gods, like Hades and, you know, Hera. Those are positions, like king and queen.
Oh, so instead of like having the title of king and queen,
you have the title of you are Hades or Zeus. Like your children carry that title on.
Interesting.
You are the new Hades. You are the new Zeus. It was so interesting. So I really loved it. I loved it.
That's kind of a cool take on it.
It was a very cool take on it.
Yeah.
I was very, very happily surprised by it. So I'm excited. The new one's coming out next year, I think. Electric Idol.
Okay.
Yeah, Electric Idol.
And it's still about them?
It's not about them. It's about somebody else.
Oh, okay.
We're moving on.
Yeah.
I can't remember who it's about. But that's it. All right, well, that is it for us. That's what we read in July. Definitely hit that like button and subscribe. Comment down below if you've read any of these or what you were reading in July. And hit that notification bell so that you know when we post next. And we will see you next time.